It's a weight of glory that the world has not seen that is possible for you to carry if only you will behold him. So what is beholding? Beholding is perceiving, recognizing and understanding an object or subject or focus strongly and clearly. Without clarity, you have not beheld. Without a strong conviction of recognition and understanding, you have not beheld. It's important we understand this concept to start with, so that when we start talking about beholding Christ, you understand the depth of what we are talking about. We're not just talking about you looking. Beholding is beyond looking. Many people look, few see. It is those that actually behold that see. That's why in Job 34 verse 29 it says, when he gives quietness, who then can make trouble? And when he hides his face, who can see him? Meaning, if he does not hide his face, you are supposed to see him. And you cannot see him unless you behold him. That's why the word is not look. Behold is deeper than look. So the second focus this morning is Christ. Who is Christ? Why should we behold him? Colossians chapter 1 verse 15 to 20 introduces us to Christ in some beautiful details. Colossians chapter 1 verse 15 to verse 20. He is the image of the invisible God. That's Christ, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created, and that are in heaven and that on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he may have the preeminence. For he pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross. This is Christ. He is the image of the invisible God. He is the one that all things consist in him. It has pleased the Father that he may have preeminence over all things, not some things. Christ is not that little boy that was born in a manger. Christ is God that came down in the flesh, that became God with us, Emmanuel, that went to the cross, died, and decided to carry the all sins of the world upon himself and died. And after his death, he was buried. On the third day, he resurrected, justifying everyone. See that scripture. He said in verse 20, and by him to reconcile all things. No wonder in Revelation, when the creatures in heaven were saying and praising the Lamb, they said, worthy is the Lamb who has made it possible for us, not just those on the earth, even us in heaven, we have been redeemed by his blood. And this Colossians 1 verse 20 is also helping us understand that scripture. He said all things to himself by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, all things were reconciled by him. That's Christ. So when we are talking about beholding Christ, from our definition this morning, it is about perceiving him. See, until you understand who Christ is, recognize who Christ is, perceive clearly and correctly who Christ is, you have not beheld him. And that's why the word this morning is beholding. It is present continuous. You cannot get a PhD of Christ that have finished studying Christ. There's no more to study. There's nothing else to study about Christ. I'm done beholding. You cannot be done beholding. We behold him until we see him. That's what Paul was saying to us. He said, when we see him face to face, then we will be like him. Until we see him, we'll keep beholding and aspiring and looking forward daily to be like him. He said, but when we see him face to face, our transformation is done. He said, because when he comes, this mortal flesh will put on immortality. Then we will start operating and reigning with him in the same body as he is. So that's why the word is beholding Christ, not beheld Christ or behold Christ. Beholding. It is a continuous activity.